In this section, we will present a series of problems that involve linear functions. So I encourage you each time to try to read the problem, copy it in your notes, and try to solve the problem on your own, maybe on scrap paper. And then unpause the video and see if your solution is close to mine. Okay, so it's better to try it yourself first, and then verify and compare with what I've done. So for each problem, try to identify what the variables are. What's the input variable? What's the output variable? What's the function? And then try to use your function to answer the questions. So we have Emily, which is a college student who plans to spend a summer in Toronto. She saved $3,500 for a trip and anticipates spending $400 each week. That's for rent, food, and activities. Using a function, model the situation and find how long she can stay in Toronto. So maybe try to identify what the input variable is here, what the output is, and try to come up with a function and answer the question. Okay, so now maybe we can start. When I start a problem like this, I try to, try to manipulate the numbers so that I can sort of understand what's going on here. So clearly, we need to keep track of the amount she has each week. Okay, in order to find like how long she can actually stay in Toronto. So I've thought, okay, maybe I'll look at the amount she has each week, and maybe the week number. So when she starts week 0, so when she arrives to Toronto, she's got $350 in her bank account. Okay, and then a week later, she's gonna have $400 less. So this has gone down by 400. And then a week later, so on week 2, it's gone down by 400 again. So she now has 2,700, and so on. Okay. So I can clearly see that given the week, I can actually define how much she has. So could be the other way around, right? We could say, well, depending on the amount, like which week are we in? But ultimately, I'm looking for, trying to get the amount to 0, so I'd like that to be my output. But of course you could work just the other way around, but I prefer to call this part the input and that part the output. Cool. Give me a week, I'll give you how much money she has. And ultimately we want to know how long she can stay, so we're going to want to know during which week her the amount of money she has will go down to 0. So obviously you could do this just by subtracting 400 and see how many 400s you can actually subtract. That would be a way of doing it. But our goal here is to try to approach this using the concept of functions. Okay, so for my output, maybe I'll call the amount M, or the amount of money N that she has. So I'm going to have to tell the reader how I'm going to call my function, and the input I'm going to call it T. So T for time, but time is going to be in weeks. So let M of T be the amount of money she has after T weeks. So when you write your solution, I don't want you to assume that I'm going to know what M and T are. Maybe don't use always X for your input, by the way. Like students are always tempted to use f of X for the function, but try to use a letter for the function that's meaningful here. So M for money, okay, or I could even use A for amount, and try to use an input that's also meaningful. So we're keeping track of time here. So T for time is much better than f of X, okay. And if you write f of X, even if you choose f of X, you're going to have to define what f means and what X means, and I'm going to give marks for this. So if you don't do it, you're going to lose marks. Okay, so having this set up, okay, well, I know that because by going by steps of 1 week, the amount is decreasing constantly, I'm dealing with a linear function. Okay, so whenever the increment here is constant, okay, which is the case here, you know you're dealing with a constant rate of change, and therefore a constant slope, and therefore the graph is going to be a line if it has a constant slope. So it's a linear function. So I don't know what happened there. So therefore m of t will be, well, it will be of the form m, and don't write mx plus b, right? So if you've chosen t here, don't change the variable all of a sudden. It's going to be mt plus b. Now I just need to know what m is. M is the slope, right? So that's our increment here. If I go forward by 1, I go down by 400. So it's minus 400 times t plus b. B being, this is basically m of 0, the amount she has initially. So that's our 3,500. Okay. So that's our model. Maybe let's frame it. Okay, from this I could calculate like how much money she has after 7 weeks, you know, just replacing t by 7. But now what I want to do is I want to find when m of t becomes 0, when the amount becomes 0. So I'm going to solve m of t equals 0. So I'm going to replace m of t by the expression I just found. I'm going to solve for t. That was a problem. I was in tablet mode. So t is going to be 3,500 over 400. And that's basically 8.75. And that's in weeks, right? So I can leave my answer like this. I've also converted the 0.75 weeks. That's roughly 5 days and something. So I'll just write she can stay 8 weeks and 5 days. Here we go.